It was one of those mornings when the city seemed to hold its breath, the sunlight barely cutting through the haze of tall buildings and the faint hum of distant traffic. For most people, it was just another day, a routine of rushing, working, and getting lost in the crowd. But for Amara, 22 years old and full of unspoken dreams, it was a day that could change everything. Amara walked slowly down the narrow streets, her steps uneven but purposeful. She wore a simple jacket over a plain dress, carrying a small backpack that had seen better days. It contained her essentials, a notebook filled with ideas, a few pens, and a folder with her portfolio. Every item represented her hope, effort, and relentless pursuit of opportunity. She glanced at the reflections in the windows as she walked, imagining herself not as the invisible young woman who usually passed unnoticed, but as someone who could stand tall and be recognized. The city was bustling. People with briefcases hurried past, couples laughed as they sipped coffee, and taxis honked impatiently. It was a world that seemed alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities, but for Amara, it had always felt just out of reach. She had dreams of working in a creative field, of building something meaningful, of showing the world that her talent was real. And yet every door she knocked on had closed with polite rejection or indifferent silence. Today, however, there was a spark of determination that lit up her chest. She had promised herself that no matter what, she would step into the cafe she had admired from afar for months. Its warm lights, wooden interiors, and the subtle scent of baked pastries always gave her a sense of calm. Yet today, it was more than just a cafe. It represented possibility, courage, and the chance to finally be seen. As Amara approached the cafe door, her hand hovered over the handle. She felt the familiar flutter of anxiety, a mix of excitement and fear. "I can do this," she whispered to herself, clutching her backpack a little tighter. The thought of rejection made her stomach twist, but the thought of not trying twisted it even more. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cafe was brighter than she imagined. Sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows, illuminating the polished wooden tables and the neatly arranged pastries behind the counter. There was a soft murmur of conversations, the gentle clinking of coffee cups, and the faint hum of a jazz tune playing in the background. People laughed, checked their phones, and seemed lost in their own worlds, but one presence stood out. At a corner table, slightly apart from the rest, sat a man in a finely tailored suit. He had an air of authority, but also a calm, thoughtful demeanor. This was Mr. Alexander Kane, a billionaire known for his strict business acumen, but also his surprising acts of generosity. Rumors of his kindness had circulated quietly in certain circles, but few had actually experienced it firsthand. He was reading a thick report, occasionally taking sips of his coffee, completely immersed in his work. Amara's eyes met his briefly. There was a subtle, almost imperceptible nod from him, acknowledging her presence without a word. That small gesture, simple as it was, made her heart leap. It felt like the universe itself had given her a quiet signal. This could be the day that changed everything. She walked to the counter to order a coffee, her hands trembling slightly. The barista greeted her warmly, a rare kindness in the fast-paced world she was navigating. Amara whispered her order and moved toward the window, pretending to look outside while her mind raced. What would she say to him? How could she ask for a chance without sounding desperate? Gathering her courage, she approached Mr. Kane's table. "Excuse me, sir," she began, her voice soft but steady. His eyes lifted from the papers, studying her carefully. Most people who approached him were either arrogant or timid in ways that made him skeptical, but Amara's presence was different. There was no pretense, no false confidence. She radiated authenticity, humility, and a quiet determination that caught him off guard. "Tell me about yourself," he said, his tone curious rather than dismissive. Amara took a deep breath and began. She spoke about her education, her struggles, the countless doors that had closed, and the passion that had never wavered. She spoke not with rehearsed lines, but with honest emotion, revealing her dreams, fears, and unwavering desire for a chance to prove herself. As she spoke, she noticed the small details in the cafe, the warm light reflecting off polished wood, the faint aroma of coffee and pastries, the gentle murmur of conversations around her. Yet all of it seemed to fade into the background as the focus narrowed to this one moment, this one opportunity.
Mr. Kane listened intently, nodding occasionally, a subtle smile forming as he observed her earnestness.
He had seen countless applicants, each trying to impress with grand words or flashy achievements. But Amara's courage to ask honestly, her vulnerability and hope, struck a chord deep within him. He leaned back slightly, considering the rare gem before him. For Amara, time seemed to stretch. Every second was heavy with anticipation, yet light with possibility. Her hands fidgeted with the strap of her backpack, her mind racing with imagined scenarios, both hopeful and fearful. She thought of all the moments she had faced rejection, all the times she had been ignored, and all the nights she had cried herself to sleep, wondering if her dreams were ever attainable. And yet she had taken this step, no matter how terrifying, and it felt like an act of courage that could redefine her life. The cafe itself seemed to hold its breath. Patrons continued their routines, oblivious to the unfolding moment, while Amara and Mr. Kane engaged in a silent exchange that went beyond words. It was a meeting of determination and opportunity, of human potential recognized by someone who could change the course of a life. Little did Amara know, this ordinary cafe visit would set off a series of events that would not only test her resolve, but also transform her destiny in ways she had never imagined. Every glance, every word, every subtle gesture in this room was part of a larger tapestry of fate, where a girl's courage and a billionaire's insight would intersect to create something extraordinary. By the end of this encounter, Amara would not just have asked for a chance. She would have stepped into a journey that could redefine who she was and what she believed was possible. This was the beginning of an extraordinary story, one that would leave viewers inspired, hopeful, and emotionally invested. Amara stepped out of the cafe with her heart still racing, a strange mix of hope and fear swirling inside her. The city outside seemed unchanged, the same bustling streets, the same blaring horns, the same hurried passerby. But everything felt different to her. For the first time in years, she sensed the possibility that her life could shift in a single day. Yet the shadow of doubt lingered. Was this just a fleeting spark of hope, or the beginning of something extraordinary? She walked slowly, retracing the route she often took to work or school. But today, every glance at the city seemed infused with potential. The bright billboards, the polished shop windows, even the stray papers fluttering in the wind, everything seemed to whisper, opportunity could be just around the corner. But deep down, Amara knew that the city was unforgiving. She had been tested countless times, only to be met with indifference or rejection. And yet, the encounter with Mr. Kane stirred something she hadn't felt in years, faith in the unseen possibilities of life. As she walked, her mind replayed every detail of the cafe meeting. The subtle way Mr. Kane had acknowledged her, the curiosity in his eyes, the slight smile that had broken the barrier between them. It wasn't just encouragement, it was recognition. And recognition, she realized, could be more powerful than opportunity itself. For the first time, she felt that her story, her struggles, and her talent might actually matter. The following days were a mix of anticipation and preparation. Amara knew that if she wanted a chance, she needed to be ready for it. Every skill she possessed, her writing, her creativity, her analytical thinking, had to be sharpened. She spent long hours revisiting her past work, practicing presentations, and imagining scenarios where she might be tested. Even the smallest details mattered: her posture, the confidence in her voice, the clarity of her ideas. She knew that opportunity rarely repeated itself, and she wasn't willing to risk it slipping away. But life, as always, was not so simple. Early in the week, she faced a harsh reminder of the challenges that had shaped her. She applied for a second opportunity at another company, a place she had dreamed of joining. Her heart had raced with hope as she submitted her application, only to receive a curt email rejecting her within minutes. It was a familiar sting, the world telling her she wasn't enough. Yet, instead of breaking her, this rejection fueled her determination. Amara realized something crucial. The world would not hand her a chance. She had to claim it. The encounter with Mr. Kane had ignited a fire within her, a determination to persevere even when the odds were stacked against her. She understood now that true courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. Meanwhile, Mr. Kane observed her quietly.
In the following days, he had reflected on their brief conversation, replaying her words and demeanor in his mind.
He had met countless young talents over the years, but Amara's sincerity, humility, and unwavering hope lingered differently. Unlike others who often exaggerated their abilities or relied on charm, she had been honest, vulnerable, and authentic. And authenticity, he knew, was rarer than brilliance. To test her further, not out of cruelty but out of curiosity and care, Mr. Kane extended a subtle invitation. He asked her to assist on a small project, seemingly ordinary but designed to reveal her creativity, problem-solving, and adaptability. Amara hesitated for only a moment before accepting, her mind already racing with possibilities and strategies. She knew this was more than a task. It was a test of her resolve, her skills, and her heart. The early days of the project were challenging. Amara faced unfamiliar tasks, complex problems, and moments when she felt completely out of her depth. She struggled to balance her ideas with the expectations of the team, often feeling the weight of being an outsider. Every mistake seemed amplified, every misstep a reminder of the countless times the world had doubted her. Yet she pressed on, driven by the thought that this could be her one chance to change everything. One particularly difficult afternoon, Amara found herself alone in the office late at night, staring at a problem she couldn't solve. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, her mind clouded with frustration and fatigue. Doubt crept in. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I was wrong to think I could do this. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, and remembered the nod he had given her, the subtle acknowledgement of her potential. It was enough to push her forward, to remind her that her determination mattered as much as her talent. The tension in the story heightened as she navigated interpersonal challenges. Some team members were skeptical of her abilities, their quiet judgment adding to the pressure. Others, unaware of her background, underestimated her entirely. But Amara's resilience became her secret strength. She learned to listen, adopt, and assert her ideas without losing her humility. Slowly, she began to win small victories, moments that proved her value and hinted at her hidden potential.
Amara's personal growth during these early conflicts was profound. She discovered that failure was not the enemy, fear was not the enemy. The true obstacles were self-doubt and the unwillingness to take risks. By confronting these fears, she developed confidence, sharpened her problem-solving skills, and discovered a strength she hadn't known existed. Her journey became more than just a pursuit of opportunity. It became a story of self-discovery and inner transformation. Meanwhile, Mr. Kane watched silently, impressed not only by her output but by her attitude. He had always believed that talent alone was not enough to succeed. Grit, resilience, and integrity were equally important. Amara embodied these qualities in a way that few people ever had. The early conflict, designed to challenge her, was proving that she was capable of more than anyone had imagined. As days turned into a week, subtle signs of recognition began to emerge. Colleagues who had doubted her started seeking her advice. Small victories built momentum, reinforcing her belief in her own abilities. Every challenge she faced, every obstacle she overcame, made her stronger and more determined. And through it all, she carried the hope that one day her efforts would be recognized not just by Mr. Kane, but by the world. Amara is poised on the edge of a breakthrough. The audience is left wondering, will the billionaire notice her true potential? Will all her hard work finally pay off? Or will another obstacle push her back into the shadows? The early mornings now felt different to Amara. She woke up with a subtle sense of purpose that had been absent for years. Each day no longer began with the familiar weight of doubt, but with a quiet determination that something meaningful could unfold. Her mind buzzed with ideas, strategies, and plans for the tasks ahead, but it was more than ambition. It was an awakening to her own potential. For so long, Amara had believed that her worth was determined by the doors that closed in her face. Job interviews, auditions, and applications had all seemed like tests she was failing. Every rejection had chipped away at her confidence, leaving behind a cautious, tentative version of herself. Yet now she felt a subtle shift. This small opportunity with Mr. Kane wasn't just a project. It was a mirror reflecting what she had always carried within her: creativity, intelligence, and resilience.
As she sat at her small desk in her apartment, reviewing her notes late at night, Amara reflected on her journey.
She remembered the nights she cried over rejection, the mornings she woke up unsure if she could face another day of failure, and the moments when she silently wished for someone, anyone, to notice her efforts. She realized something profound. Those struggles had shaped her into someone capable of seizing a chance when it finally appeared. Her personal discovery began in subtle ways. The first moment came during a routine meeting for the project. She had been asked to solve a problem that seemed insurmountable. For hours, she wrestled with ideas, sketches, and formulas, feeling the pressure of expectations and her own self-imposed standards. She almost gave up several times, thinking, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this is too much for me. But then she paused. She closed her eyes and thought about the cafe, about the nod from Mr. In that moment, she realized that talent alone was not the key to success. It was persistence, curiosity, and the courage to keep moving forward despite fear. She tried again, exploring new angles, connecting ideas in ways she hadn't before. Slowly, a solution emerged. Not perfect, but brilliant in its simplicity and effectiveness. This realization changed everything for Amara. She understood that her worth wasn't dependent on anyone else's recognition. It was rooted in her ability to persevere, adopt, and create, even when the world seemed indifferent. She began to embrace failure not as a verdict on her abilities, but as a step in the process of growth. Each misstep became a lesson, each doubt a challenge to overcome. Beyond professional growth, Amara also discovered a deeper emotional resilience. She had long been hesitant to trust others or ask for help, fearing judgment and rejection. But in the days following her first interactions with Mr. Kane, she realized that asking for support was not weakness, it was courage. By being vulnerable and authentic, she could inspire trust, empathy, and collaboration. This was a profound shift in her mindset. She no longer had to carry the burden of proving herself alone. Amara also began to notice subtle changes in how others responded to her. Colleagues who had initially dismissed her ideas now paused to listen, curious about her insights. Mentors she hadn't known she had seemed to appear when she least expected them, offering guidance and encouragement.
She realized that growth wasn't just about her abilities, it was about how she connected with the world and allowed herself to be seen. Her most powerful discovery came during a quiet evening at the office. She had been working late, reviewing a proposal for an upcoming project. Exhausted but determined, she leaned back in her chair and allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the rejections, the loneliness, the self-doubt, and the persistent belief that she deserved a chance. She understood for the first time that her struggles were not setbacks, they were preparation for this very moment. In the following days, Amara applied this insight to her work. She took risks she hadn't dared to before, offering bold solutions and creative ideas. She volunteered for tasks outside her comfort zone, knowing that growth required stepping into uncertainty. Every success, no matter how small, reinforced her confidence, and every challenge strengthened her resilience. She was no longer just surviving, she was thriving in a space that tested her, shaped her, and recognized her potential. Meanwhile, Mr. Kane watched these developments with increasing admiration. He had not underestimated Amara's abilities, but he had been pleasantly surprised by the depth of her self-discovery and emotional growth. Many talented individuals had come through his doors, but few had demonstrated the combination of skill, humility, and courage that Amara now embodied. He realized that his decision to give her a chance, however small, was revealing the transformative power of opportunity when paired with determination. The story of personal discovery continued beyond professional achievements. Amara began to understand that her value was not just measured by success, but by the authenticity of her journey. She reflected on moments when she had doubted herself and realized that each of those moments had been a stepping stone toward understanding her own strength. Her past struggles, once seen as burdens, now became sources of wisdom, empathy, and resilience. By embracing her vulnerabilities, she also became more attuned to the needs of others. She noticed colleagues who struggled quietly, friends who doubted themselves, and even strangers whose efforts went unrecognized. She understood, viscerally, the importance of encouragement and mentorship.
This realization sparked a desire not only to succeed for herself, but to uplift others who, like her, simply needed a chance to shine. The section culminates with a profound moment of self-awareness. Sitting alone one evening, looking out at the city lights, Amara whispered to herself, "I am more than my failures. I am stronger than my fears. I am ready." It was a quiet affirmation, but one that carried the weight of countless battles fought in silence. The girl who once hesitated to ask for a single opportunity had transformed into someone capable of embracing challenges, seizing possibilities, and shaping her own destiny. As viewers absorb this revelation, they are left with a sense of hope and inspiration. Sometimes, the most important journey is the one that happens inside us, and personal growth can be as transformative as any external opportunity.
The following weeks were some of the most intense in Amara's life. Her daily routine had transformed from one of quiet struggle into a focused, ambitious pursuit of excellence. Each morning she arrived early at the office, greeted the day with a careful balance of determination and optimism, and immersed herself in the tasks at hand. The small opportunities she had been given by Mr. Kane had become a proving ground, a space where her skills, creativity, and character were tested to their limits. At first, the challenges were overwhelming. She was assigned a project critical to the company's reputation, one that demanded innovation, precision, and collaboration with seasoned professionals. Amara felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Every misstep carried the risk of failure, every hesitation a potential loss of credibility. Yet she faced each obstacle head-on, drawing on the lessons from her personal discovery, perseverance, humility, and belief in her abilities. Her approach was methodical. She studied the company's operations, observed the team dynamics, and analyzed past successes and failures. She brainstormed tirelessly, often sketching ideas late into the night, her desk cluttered with papers, notes, and prototypes. She sought feedback, adjusted her strategies, and remained receptive to criticism. Each step was deliberate, reflecting a maturity that had been born from her struggles and self-reflection. The first major breakthrough came during a team brainstorming session. A colleague had dismissed an aspect of the project as unfeasible, but Amara saw potential where others saw obstacles. Tentatively, she presented an alternative solution, explaining its benefits and potential impact. There was a tense silence, followed by a slow nod from a senior member of the team. The idea was tested and ultimately adopted, marking Amara's first significant contribution to the project. This small victory had a profound effect on her confidence. She began to trust her instincts, to voice her ideas without hesitation, and to take ownership of her work. Her colleagues started noticing her dedication, creativity, and analytical thinking. Some who had doubted her skills became supportive allies, while others who remained skeptical had no choice but to respect her competence. Yet the transformation was not without internal conflict.
Amara wrestled with self-doubt, wondering if her success was temporary or if she would falter when faced with greater challenges. She reflected on past failures, questioning whether history would repeat itself. But each time doubt crept in, she reminded herself of the path she had walked, the rejections, the relentless preparation, the courage to ask for a chance, and realized that she was no longer the same person who had entered the cafe weeks ago. Amara's growth extended beyond her professional abilities. She learned the value of collaboration, empathy, and communication. She discovered that leadership was not about asserting dominance, but about inspiring trust, listening actively, and guiding others toward shared goals. She became a source of motivation for the team, encouraging quieter members to share their ideas and recognizing contributions that might otherwise go unnoticed. Her humility and authenticity became her strengths, fostering a supportive environment that enhanced productivity and creativity. Meanwhile, Mr. Kane observed her progress with increasing admiration. What had begun as a small test of potential had revealed the depth of Amara's character. He saw a young woman who was not only talented but resilient, adaptable, and emotionally intelligent. He recognized that her journey was a testament to the transformative power of opportunity and the importance of nurturing potential rather than dismissing it. The pivotal moment of transformation arrived during a critical presentation. The project had reached a stage where its success or failure could define the company's future. Amara was tasked with presenting her team's findings and recommendations to senior executives, a responsibility that filled her with both excitement and anxiety. She meticulously prepared, anticipating questions, refining visuals, and practicing her delivery until it was precise, confident, and persuasive. When the day arrived, Amara stood in front of the boardroom, her heart pounding but her mind clear.
She began her presentation with calm authority, articulating each point with clarity, passion, and evidence. The executives listened intently, some nodding in approval, others studied her reactions closely. As she addressed challenging questions and offered innovative solutions, she realized that she had stepped fully into her own power. The girl who had once hesitated to ask for a chance was now commanding the room with presence and expertise.
The presentation concluded with enthusiastic applause, and Amara felt a surge of validation, not just from external recognition, but from the internal affirmation that she was capable, prepared, and deserving of success. The project moved forward under her guidance, achieving results that exceeded expectations. Her transformation was complete. She was no longer defined by doubt or limitation, but by skill, courage, and self-belief. Amara's journey also had a ripple effect on those around her. Colleagues who had struggled to find confidence in their own roles were inspired by her dedication and resilience. Mentors and peers alike recognized the value of providing support and encouragement to emerging talent. The culture of the workplace began to shift subtly, reflecting the profound impact one person's determination and authenticity could have on a broader community. The narrative now approaches the critical prelude to the climax. Mr. Kane, witnessing Amara's extraordinary transformation, realized that this was more than just a project. It was a life-changing opportunity in the truest sense. The girl who had once nervously approached him, trembling with the fear of rejection, had become a confident, capable, and inspiring force within his organization. He knew that the final step, the moment that would shock everyone, was approaching. The audience, deeply invested in Amara's journey, is left on the edge of their seats. They have witnessed her struggles, her personal discoveries, and her remarkable growth. The stakes are now at their peak. Will the ultimate recognition come? Will the billionaire acknowledge her transformation in a way that honors her journey and validates her courage? The day of reckoning had arrived. Amara walked into the company's main hall, her portfolio neatly in hand, her head held high, and her heart pounding with anticipation. The air buzzed with energy. Executives, colleagues, and media representatives had gathered for what was officially billed as a routine project presentation. Yet for Amara, this was far from routine. It was the culmination of weeks of hard work, late nights, personal growth, and unwavering courage. As she entered the room, she spotted Mr. Kane seated at the front, observing quietly. His eyes held a mixture of curiosity, expectation, and that subtle acknowledgement that had first inspired her weeks ago. The moments leading to this event had transformed her. She was no longer the timid girl who had nervously approached a cafe asking for a chance. She had become a poised, confident, and capable woman who had earned her place. Amara began her presentation, her voice steady and commanding, her hands articulating her ideas with precision. The room listened intently as she explained the project's complexities, proposed innovative solutions, and addressed potential risks. Each slide, each argument, each recommendation reflected not just her skill, but her dedication, creativity, and insight. As the presentation progressed, subtle signs of recognition appeared. Colleagues exchanged impressed glances, senior executives nodded thoughtfully, and even the most skeptical voices in the room grew quiet. Amara could feel their attention, the weight of expectation pressing against her, and yet she remained unwavering. Every moment was a testament to the inner strength she had discovered in herself. Then came the twist. At the end of her presentation, Mr. Kane rose from his seat. The room fell silent. He began to speak, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable authority. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "what you have just witnessed is more than a project presentation." He paused, letting the words settle. "Amara approached me weeks ago, asking for nothing more than an opportunity." Gasps filled the room. Amara's colleagues stared, stunned. No one had expected such personal recognition from the billionaire himself. Then he dropped the final revelation. "We are launching a new division of the company, one that will define the future of our operations, and the leader of this initiative will be none other than Amara." The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, colleagues cheered, and Amara felt a wave of emotion so powerful that she had to blink back tears. The journey she had endured, the rejections, the doubts, the fear, the late nights,
had led to this moment. She had asked for a chance, and she had transformed that chance into something extraordinary. Yet the true shock lay not just in the promotion, but in the manner it came. Mr. Kane revealed that he had been searching for someone who embodied not just skill, but the qualities that define true leadership: humility, resilience, and the ability to inspire others. He had chosen Amara because she represented a rare combination of talent and character, a person who had overcome struggle without losing authenticity.
Amara stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the reality of what had happened. She thought of her past, the countless nights she had doubted herself, the moments she had walked past opportunities in fear, the times she had been overlooked. And now, everything had shifted. The girl who had nervously asked for a chance was now recognized, celebrated, and entrusted with a future she had only dreamed of. But the story doesn't end with personal success alone. Amara understood that her journey had broader implications. She now had the platform to inspire, mentor, and uplift others who were struggling silently, just as she had once struggled. She realized that true transformation was not measured solely by personal achievement, but by the positive impact one could create in the lives of others. In the days that followed, Amara approached her new role with the same humility and determination that had carried her through the project. She led her team with empathy, encouraged new talent, and ensured that every voice was heard. She became a symbol of hope within the company, a living testament to the fact that one chance, when met with courage and perseverance, can change not just a life, but an entire environment. The narrative reaches its emotional pinnacle when Amara reflects privately on her journey. Sitting in her office one evening, looking out at the city lights, she whispered to herself, "I asked for a chance. I worked hard. I believed. And now, this is only the beginning." She understood that life would continue to bring challenges, but the lessons she had learned, the power of perseverance, authenticity, and courage, would guide her through everything to come. The story concludes with a profound life lesson. Opportunity alone is not enough. It is the courage to embrace it, the resilience to overcome obstacles, and the integrity to remain true to oneself that transforms a chance into a life-changing reality. Amara's journey reminds viewers that even when the world seems indifferent, one's persistence, authenticity, and willingness to act can create extraordinary outcomes. For the audience, the emotional payoff is complete. They have witnessed struggle, personal discovery, transformation, and ultimate recognition. They feel inspired, uplifted, and motivated to apply these lessons in their own lives. The story leaves a lasting impression. Hope, courage, and integrity can open doors that were once thought impossible to reach.